Yes guys, this is Gossip. Welcome back to another video now. That's been me all morning, basically thinking, do I upload this video? Because my predictions back in August were dreadful. Today I'm going to be reacting to my Premier League predictions. Now this should be very interesting. On one side of the screen, you're going to see where every team finished this year, and as I go through it, the difference between where they finished and where I predicted them. We'll then add the score up in the end to basically see how I compare to my previous years. Right, we're going to start off with the relegation zone. This is a brilliant part because I actually get this part pretty spot on. I predicted Norwich to finish 20th. If you didn't, you're an idiot. Norwich have basically done what they always have. They start really, really bad. They have a little bit of an uplift in form. Of course, they got rid of Farker, brought in Dean Smith, who I actually think is quite a good manager, but he just hasn't cut it with Norwich, simple as that. They actually brightened up a bit. I think they knocked Wolves out of the FA Cup. That was the start of a bit of a good run for them as soon as Dean Smith came in, but that was quickly dead and buried. 19th, guess what, guys? I've got to enjoy it while I can because I also got this one right. Of course, Watford, they're pretty poor as well. They actually started off the season quite well, but you know the reason why they didn't do well is their home form. Their last win at home was against Man United on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's last game in November. So if you're thinking, but Norwich's form away from home has been alright. It has, yeah. But their home form is... I prefer not to speak. In 18th place was Burnley. They got relegated on the last day of the season. Heartbreak for Sean Dyche. Well, actually not really heartbreak for Sean Dyche. He's probably got a bit of a smile on his face. There was a lot of abuse fired at Burnley's owners for actually sacking him at that time. But I know a lot of people are saying, oh, why have they sacked him? But realistically, at the time, he did win 5 games all season. 5 games. They brought in Mike Johnson. He's won 3 games for them. He's actually done quite well. His first game was a draw at the London Stadium against West Ham. Set them up for good things going forwards. I thought they would have survived. Mike Jackson, sorry. But they just couldn't cut it. And I actually predicted Burnley would finish 16th. So I got 2 places worse off. 17th. They had to do it the dramatic way. Leeds United. Now, I really like Leeds as a club. I really want them to stay up. I love their fans, their passion, and I think their players just don't stop giving up. However, you could say that was a bit differently in their games against Chelsea when they got smashed. I mean, they were dreadful in that game. They've had red cards galore. Luke Ayling away against Arsenal. I was at that game. Some of the players' decisions were questionable at the time, but I have to say, I think they did go until the end. And this is the first, big mistake from me. I predicted Leeds to finish in 9th. 9th. Yeah, 8 places difference. So in terms of my score at the end, that's just set it back a lot. 16th, of course, we're in a lot of trouble this season. It's Everton now. I think if it wasn't for their home form and Goodison Park being unbelievable match days, I think they probably would have gone down. They've had brilliant wins at home when they've really, really needed it against Chelsea, Man United, and of course, on their last home game, Crystal Palace. The fight they showed, to be honest, from Frank Lampard and the players going into the last, 10 games of the season was unbelievable. I think none of us can doubt that. What Frank Lampard's done, he's taken them from 16th to 16th, but I think he's done very well with them. I think he's done what they need them to do. I mean, if Rafa Benitez was still at the club, I think they would have gone down. So fair play to Frank Lampard and his team for getting Everton through it. I put Everton 10th. Oh, God. Leeds 9th, Everton 10th. If that isn't a reason to stay on this video, I don't know what is. I mean, we've got some more shockers to come. Let me tell you that. 15th was Southampton. Now, they didn't really get thrown into the relegation battle in the end. It was them and Brentford, really, that were on the edge of it. But realistically, Southampton were never really going to go down. I thought the losses of Vestergaard to Leicester and Danny Ings to Aston Villa would have been monumental for them. It was, however, they still finished 15th and cleared the relegation zone. I predicted that they would go down. 3 shockers in a row for me. Only 3 place difference, but the difference between staying up and going down is huge. 14th was Aston Villa. Now, I'm not really sure how we should assess Steven Gerrard's reign at Aston Villa. It started off extremely well, and of course, he's managed to attract some unbelievable players to the club, such as Coutinho and Luca Dean, which has transformed their side. However, they have dropped points in stupid games such as Watford at home, which I was at. I mean, they haven't really looked so convincing when I watch them play. They always look like they can concede a goal and lose the game out of nowhere. I predicted Villa, however, would finish 8th. They actually had a very good season last time. I don't know, that's 4 shockers in a row. They had a very good season last season. Obviously, Grealish going was a massive loss to them. We can't take that away. They had 100 million, probably didn't spend it in the best areas. I think they spent about 35 million on Leon Bailey, and he really hasn't delivered. Had quite a lot of injury problems. And when he's played, he hasn't really set the world alight. 13th was Brentford. Now, fair play to Brentford. They really did well and made their fans proud in the end. With a small amount of investment in the summer and a small amount of money spent, they've done extremely well. They finished in 13th. I predicted them to stay up, actually, but in 17th place. So another 4-point difference. Ivan Toney and Mbeumo have been massive for them staying up. They really have. Mbeumo especially has really impressed me in chipping in with goals when it's really mattered. Ivan Toney scored some very important goals as well. I think their win of the season for me, I know obviously they had a brilliant opening day win against Arsenal, but for me it was a 2-0 win over West Ham. And Mbeumo and Toney both scored, massive for them. So look, fair play, Thomas Frank and Brentford. We'll be seeing you in the Premier League next year. 12th place, I went with Crystal Palace. Now, another fair play to Patrick Vieira. Unbelievable job at Palace this season. To transform their style of play and kind of policy in terms of transfers from Roy Hodgson, who was very old and experienced in him and the players he brought in, is amazing. He's brought in players like Elise, Edward, Conor Gallagher on loan that have really kicked on at Palace and been unbelievable. Conor Gallagher especially, Chelsea have got a hell of a player there. I actually predicted Palace to finish 12th, so I did think Patrick Vieira would have been a success at Palace, but I mean, with jobs in France and America before him, you never really know how he's going to do. Fair play Vieira though, you've had a great season. Eddie Howe, congratulations. In my opinion, the manager of the year. I mean, the last couple, I think I've had to congratulate the managers more than the players. I mean, when Eddie Howe took over to Steve Bruce, it was a toxic atmosphere. No one wanted to be there. And of course, the Saudi takeover really helped. They brought in players like Trippier, who has been injured, but most importantly, Bruno Guimaraes, along with Dan Burn and Matty Targett. I predicted Newcastle would stay up and finish 15th, but with such a good end to the season last time, I thought they would have started this season a little bit better. Of course, they're Joe Willock. I'm pretty sure he scored in his last 7 games at the end of last season. Hasn't really kicked on at Newcastle this summer after they bought him permanently in the summer. But look, Newcastle, they're a real threat, I think, to European places next season. They could give teams like Arsenal, West Ham and United a real good run for their money. They're going to be massive after this takeover. This takeover is going to work wonders for them. I'm not sure how long Eddie Howe will be at the club for, because I think there's so far he can take them. But look, what a job he's done. And for me, my manager of the season. 10th place was Wolves. Of course, losing Nuno in the summer caused them to bring a new manager in. And that was Bruno Lage. Of course, another Portuguese. I think some of the signings they've made have actually been very smart. Although in my opinion, this summer, I think they do need to go for another centre mid, with João Moutinho really running down his deal. There's also a lot of interest in Ruben Neves as well, that he can move on. And there was even a shout early in the season that Wolves could actually go for European football. They're in a good place at one time to clinch top 4. Wolves will probably be disappointed, I think, looking back at where they finished in the league in comparison to the position they were in earlier in the season. But look, Wolves have done extremely well in their 4 seasons, I think it is, since being promoted to the Premier League. And you have to say, fair play Lager and the rest of the Wolves team for continuing this season in that fashion. 9th place and their best ever finish in the Premier League, Brighton. Now, last season it was very much, they created so many chances, they just couldn't put any away. And I know they have struggled for goals a bit this year, but Graham Potter and his team have given the fans some moments they will never forget. Finishing 9th in the Premier League season with the competition that's in the league at the moment is astounding. Graham Potter obviously deserves quite a lot of credit for that, but they have some very, very good players that do go under the radar. Cucurella especially. In that 4-0 win against Man United, he was incredible, and that game was unbelievable. I know Man United were on bad form, but that is hats off to Brighton. They've won away at Arsenal, away at Spurs, drew away at Anfield. They've had an incredible season and one the fans and everyone in the Premier League will remember. I actually predicted Brighton to finish in 12th, so I predicted that they would have a decent season as well. But they've exceeded expectations massively. 8th place, and a bit of a disappointing season in my opinion, was Leicester. I think in my opinion, it's a bit of an end of an era for Leicester and Brendan Rodgers. Jamie Vardy's of course gone probably past his peak now. He's coming probably to the end of his career, to be honest. Players like Tielemans, who provided them with incredible memories last summer in winning the FA Cup, is of course running down his deal, and he's been linked with Arsenal and Spurs this summer. I think Brendan Rodgers has done an unbelievable season there, and I actually predicted them to finish in 6th, ahead of some very big teams, but look, they haven't quite done it this season and have failed to get into Europe, but with the Conference League semi-final under their belt as well, I think although it's been a disappointing season for Brendan Rodgers and Leicester, it's definitely one that there's space to improve on. 7th was West Ham. Now, I predicted West Ham to finish in 11th because I thought with fans returning to stadium, I think it might really affect them. It hasn't. They started off this season unbelievably well, and I think it has to be noted that they actually got to a Europa League semi-final and actually lost the eventual winners, Eintracht Frankfurt. They had wins at home against teams like Liverpool, Chelsea, an unbelievable Europa League run, and just missed out on the Europa League on the final day of the season, putting themselves in the Conference League for next season. I was at some of their brilliant games of the season. I was actually at the game where Yarmolenko scored. It was a very emotional time for them when they won 2-0 against Sevilla and overturned their deficit in the Europa League round of 16. David Moyes has done an incredible job there. He really has. However, ahead of a lot of their rivals this summer who will be investing, I think their main focus of the summer will be retaining some of their best players. Jared Bowen and Declan Rice especially, and I actually do expect Declan Rice to move on this summer, perhaps to Man United, who are in desperate need of a midfielder. Man United finished in 6th. A really poor season for them. The stature of their club, I mean, they've had no success with managers. Having Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for that period of the season was damaging, but Ralf Rangnick has been dreadful. Awful results. I already mentioned one in this video, away against Brighton. I can name you 5 or 6 more. I thought with the summer they had, signing Sancho, Varane, Ronaldo, they'd actually finish 3rd, and a lot of people predicted them actually to finish runners-up, or perhaps even have a title challenge. But actually, realistically, I think we were getting too carried away with the transfers and not really looking at the manager themselves. It's been a really hard season for those Man United fans. Hopefully for them, they can push on next season. 5th place, I went with Arsenal. Now, it's a difficult one to call with Arsenal. I think if you said at the start of the season to their fans that you'd finish in the 5th place and lose out on the final day to Spurs, who clinched Champions League, I think they probably would have taken it. However, with the manner they've done it, in my opinion, it's just unacceptable. Going into the final 3 games of the season, they were 4 points clear of 5th. Absolutely calm as you like. Next up was the North London derby. Subsequently, they got absolutely smashed in that, 3-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and then lost 1-0 to Newcastle, and with Spurs winning 5-0 on the last game of the season, that clinched Spurs top 4 and Arsenal in the Europa League. I think their mentality probably wasn't the best going into the last games of the season, and I think with a lot of young players, they just didn't really have that experience, and as I said, mentality to really push on and clinch that spot. Spurs, on the other hand, unbelievable job by them in the end. And a lot of it goes down to Antonio Conte. I mean, when Antonio Conte took over in November, Spurs were 9th, and he called getting top 4 a miracle. A miracle has been achieved because on the last day of the season, Spurs won 5-0 at Norwich, as I just said, clinching 4th place and Champions League football for next season. That's massive for Spurs, specifically Conte and Harry Kane, who will probably both remain at the club this summer. I predicted them to get 5th, so where Arsenal finished, and I actually predicted Arsenal to get 7th. 3rd place was Chelsea. Now, Chelsea at the start of the season were really going for the title. They signed Lukaku, obviously just winning the Champions League. Everything was going right for them. However, injuries to Ben Chilwell specifically halted them so much, and I think going out the Champions League in Madrid decreased their morale a lot. However, with all the things with the takeover and Roman Abramovich obviously not being able to own the club anymore and pump any money into it, I think Thomas Tuchel and the team have done extremely well. I think he's done a tremendous job. I think considering everything Chelsea have been through this season, 3rd is probably a successful season for them. Not to mind, they also got to the FA Cup and Carabao Cup final. Although it was disappointing for them losing both of them on penalties, there's definitely space for improvement. Now, who did I predict to win the league? I predicted Man City, and they were right, winning on the last game of the season against Aston Villa. A 6-minute comeback scoring 3 goals is honestly, I had no words for it watching it on TV. It was unbelievable. In my opinion, a player that is really not getting enough credit for what he's done this season is Rodri. I think he's up there with De Bruyne in terms of influence he's had on the side this season. He's been insane. He really has. Even with his goals as well. From a CDM, that many goals in important moments is also unbelievable. Liverpool, on the other hand, took them right to the edge. At one point, Man City were 14 points clear, but Liverpool's mentality in Jurgen Klopp proved decisive, and they missed out on the final day of the season. Heartbreaking stuff. Salah and Son, of course, shared the golden boot, and Salah also got the Playmaker Award, which is the award for the most assists as well. So a brilliant season for him. But Liverpool will be disappointed they didn't win the Premier League and get the quadruple. However, there is still a chance to win a treble for them, with the Champions League coming this Saturday. Man City, of course, will be disappointed they didn't get further in the Champions League and perhaps win it. But look, you lost to Real Madrid, and it looks like they might go on to win the whole competition. Guys, that is my Premier League predictions. I counted up the points, and I'm pretty sure it was 56 points that I was off for the original positions. It's really not great at all. It's probably the worst season I've had. Last season was definitely better. And hopefully next season we'll go again. Guys, smash a massive like on this video if you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button, smash it. Subscribe down below. We're trying to hit 1,000 by the end of the year, so it'll be greatly appreciated. Follow my social medias, which will link down in the description. But until then, I'll be back next time. See you later, guys.